Hello and welcome to Investing Confidential. One of these days, I'm going to get more than 100, 200, 300 views. Again, I'll be happy by then, but for now, I don't care. Uh, my calls have been pretty good. I think I'm advising those who are watching me pretty well, especially in outside of the U.S., investments outside of the U.S. The S&P is ridiculous, but I'm not going to talk about that today. Today I'm talking about China and probably one of the most important, something really is going to happen soon, I think. Huge. It's going to affect everybody. It's going to affect your S&P. It's going to affect your NASDAQ stocks. It's going to affect everything in the world. And it's going to be one of these flashpoints like COVID was, um, like Trump, the election of Trump in November. I mean, this is going to be huge. So you're going to hear about this, but listen to what I said less than a year ago, 10 months ago. Okay. And then one last thing, there is one wild card out there that if happens, it's going to be very interesting. The wild card is Xi Jinping. Okay. Came in 2012 and he has overseen the worst economy and the worst stock market performance and the worst real estate performance of any modern premier. Okay, this guy is a disaster when it comes to asset prices, a complete disaster. And if he hadn't prisoned all of his enemies, he'd be gone. He would have been like the guy taking selfies on a cliff in France. He'd be gone, disappeared. Okay, I don't think he's going to survive. He shouldn't survive based on that performance. And if you wake up one day and you see the headline that he's sick or he's disappeared or what happened, something happened to him, that's your trigger, that's your catalyst to buy Chinese stock. And you're going to start seeing a lot more articles. I'm going to show you some articles just came out that my prediction is probably going to come to pass. And the prediction of Xi Jinping no longer being in charge of China, if that occurs, it's monumental. Monumental for everything. I think the initial reaction, I don't know, it's going to be negative for China, but to me, it represents a massive buying opportunity. But let's get into some details. So, as always, let's start with some of the facts as we know it. China's still in trouble, folks. This is both new housing prices, existing housing prices, and if you've been watching my videos, which obviously none of you do, but if you have been watching, I've been teaching you that this has been the real estate market has been the engine of growth for China since they got into the WTO. Okay, that's 25 years, 30 years, whatever. This is all that matters for the China's GDP, real estate, and it's dead. Absolutely dead because of Xi. Okay, he, look, you can give him some credit about wanting to get out of get the corruption out of the system because obviously the real estate industry was incredibly corrupt, but it drove the economy. So, he comes into power, he squashes real estate, and the entire economy has collapsed. Okay, literally has collapsed. So real estate is not recovering. This is very bad for Mr. Z. Then you have China PMI, Purchasing Managers Index. Now, this is actually a really good survey, unlike the U.S. numbers. This doesn't come from China. It comes from a private organization. Again, look, I mean, it's negative. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, but it's not recovering. It's not recovering. And it's not good. And when you look at the other key element of the real estate market and the GDP, it's the banking system. And the banks are bankrupt. And the banking system is gone. I mean, and China has no choice but to merge the banking system. And you're seeing that today. And some of these writers have picked this up. Again, some of this stuff has been picked up recently. But this is a sign, folks, that the Chinese system is collapsing. Okay? I don't care what anybody says. This may look. We'll talk about Taiwan a little bit, but let's keep going here. Some anecdotal evidence that again you're not going to hear from CNBC. That's basically showing what's really going on. You got look at this China box office. Now remember, Hollywood was hugely beneficial from China box office, right? The Hollywood films, even if they bombed here, it would go over to China and do gangbusters. Well, look what's happened. Look what's happened. Basically, until these talk about last year, but it really doesn't matter. The end of last year, it's a disaster, folks. The Chinese consumer has said enough. They've had enough. Absolutely enough. This is again anecdotal evidence. The Chinese consumer is dead. China's dead. Okay, and this is look. It's all about deflation. Okay, here is deflation. Now, we talk about here. We got in this country. We got interest. We got interest rates and we got inflation. People are calling, oh, cut rates. Well, you can't really cut rates, folks. You got oil at these prices, and if you really want to get things back to where they were, you have to have some deflation. We started to have some deflation, but the current administration can't afford deflation. They should have continued the path to deflation at least through the end of this year, and then things would have snapped back through the midterms. But they didn't choose that, and I think it's going to come to bite them. But China, like you can see, this is deflation. This isn't good for assets. Very, very bad. So, consequently, you got Mr. Xi Jinping. He's got problems. He's got problems because he's been the premier for the worst economy in modern history of China, the worst stock market in the modern history of China. Nobody likes him. Nobody likes him. He's now isolated. Okay, and so these are just little articles here and that are coming out. No one's paying attention to them. There was an article in the Post yesterday or today. But the evidence is clear. This guy is dead man walking. He is dead man walking. Now, nobody in Wall Street is going to say it, but this is the reality. And more evidence of, so when the U.S. bombed Iran and Iran all these, normally China would come out, Xi Jinping himself would come out and he'd be rattling the swords. Guess what? Nothing. Nothing. The guy just said nothing. That's shocking to me. It tells me again, his grip on power is slipping fast. And there's something coming up in about a week and a half, or a week and a half, I guess, that is going to be very important. And it's going to be important to see what China is doing and what Mr. Xi Jinping is going to be saying. Because, look, China, they've made some big inroads into Latin America because the U.S. is stupid. The U.S. is really stupid. And I'm talking about the last 20 years, going back to Bush Jr., a bunch of morons. We should have been courting. Anyway, I don't want to get into that. It's another video. But what's coming up in about a week and a half is this. The BRICS Summit in Rio de Janeiro on July 6th. What is that? Well, you're going to bring together everybody. Middle East, Latin America, Asia, including China. And what are they going to talk about? Well, bottom line is they're going to talk about tariffs, and they're going to talk about trading with themselves and the possibility of creating a new gold-backed currency, digital currency, which makes sense. Makes sense, given what the U.S. has been doing in Europe. It just makes sense. But the problem with all this is that it sounds good on paper, but without China, it's worthless. So, it's going to be tough. This is going to be the key. If Xi Jinping is not out there front and center, this thing's going to collapse, and it's also going to show that he's His days are numbered. Okay, and why is it, just to go into the ramifications of all this? I mean, we see the dollar continue to be weak. The potential for a BRICS currency is legitimate, given we've got stable coins, we've got Bitcoin. Creating a gold-backed currency makes sense to me. But without China, it won't work. So, what could happen? Xi Jinping, we wake up one day, could be next week, could be next month, doesn't matter. And he's gone. This will be the front page on every newspaper in the world. This will be talked about for days and days and days. It will rattle the markets one way or another. Most likely, I would think the initial reaction in the Chinese stock markets will be uncertainty, negative. But folks, that's your opportunity. That's a huge buying opportunity. Think about it. They get rid of the guy who's destroyed the economy and destroyed the two best sectors in China: real estate and tech. Now, I wouldn't expect any of you who are listening to to be able to navigate the real estate market like myself and some other of my professional investor friends, but you can get directly involved in the technology sector. Alibaba, FXI, big weighting towards the technology sector and FXI right now, especially the Chinese ADRs that are listed here. And if you see a big whoosh, meaning down, I would go all in. Don't go all in, but that's your opportunity. And it makes sense because I'm going to show you again, valuations for emerging markets, the lower half is the cheapest. I think this is the cheapest in 15 years since I've been watching things. Maybe 20 years, but it's very cheap. Very, very cheap, valuation-wise. And catalyst to me, obviously a new premier who is going to prop up the Chinese economy by going back to the future, right? This will ignite the Chinese consumer. The Chinese consumer has basically been on hold for 3 years. They will come. They also have tons of cash. They will come back with a banshee. Stock market will fly. Real estate market will start to move. Consumer goods, luxury goods, all of these things that have been destroyed by the policies of Xi Jinping are going to come back. That's the opportunity. So 10 months ago, I called it, as you saw. I do things longer term. I don't care about tomorrow. As you guys, for the few of you that have watched, I don't care about tomorrow. All of my predictions pretty much have come true in terms of regional things. The only thing I've gotten wrong so far is the S&P 500, which I don't care. I told you, S&P 500 is a worthless index. Completely worthless. It means nothing. I wouldn't sell it. Like I said, I just keep riding it. It means absolutely nothing. And at some point, it will be nothing. But right now, watch what's going on July 6th. Watch what happens out of China. If Xi Jinping, if, the big if he one day we wake up and he's gone, and there's a lot of volatility, could be very interesting. Now, Taiwan, how does Taiwan fit in all this? Well, certainly, if Xi Jinping were to go away, I think the pressure on Taiwan would ease, very much so. And that would be bullish for Taiwan Semiconductor or the Taiwan ETF, whatever. That's another outcome of potentially Xi Jinping going away. But anyway, just want to make note that it's there. I called it. It's happening. I think it's going to happen. I don't know the timing of it. But July 6th in the Rio Summit, very important to see how much of a front and center China takes on this. So As we enter an incredibly volatile period with potentially a change in the Chinese government for the first time in in a couple of decades, many years, as always, be careful out there, investors.